There's a war going on against our hormones, against testosterone. The average testosterone levels are dropping in men across different age groups. And this decline is separate from the natural age related decreases that all men experience. I know we've used that word natural before, which I don't like. It's shouldn't be happening, but it does happen. Hi, I'm Steve from LZ23 Strength, where we exert ourselves, elevate our health, and evolve in mind and body. And today our topic is testosterone, something that's vital for optimal, energetic muscle building, strength, and vitality in life. So we're going to talk about some of the things that affect it. So what can we be doing about it to fight back in this war against our hormones decreasing or being affected, and all things related to that. Appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to read you some statistics first of all. This is a study from the European Urology Focus in 2021. Found that there's a decline in average of total testosterone among adolescent and young men in the United States between 1999 and 2016. Some more research shows that there's long-term trends that testosterone levels in men born more recently, such as in the 1960s, were lower than those born decades earlier in the 1920s. And one final one, some reports suggest that millennials and Gen Z men have lower testosterone levels than men of the same age 20 to 30 years ago. So it's not imagined. Actually, you might find kind of an epidemic in this regard, and also an epidemic of men going on TRT therapy, which is testosterone replacement therapy. And many are starting at a younger age. And we'll talk about this a little later of why I'm concerned. Again, I'm no expert. I'm not a doctor, physician, scientist, but do enough research and studies to have some concerns regarding people starting TRT perhaps prematurely, and even how it involves women. But first of all, let's talk about some of the common signs of somebody having low T. That's how we're going to refer to testosterone, because it's a long word and you might get tired of me saying it. I might get tired of saying it myself. So we're going to talk about T, low T. Some of the symptoms are fatigue, low energy, reduced sex drive and erectile dysfunction, loss of muscle mass and strength, weight gain, depressed mood and irritability. Some of those changes involve emotions, and talk about depression, anxiety, irritability, having trouble concentrating, and the fatigue and insomnia, not being highly motivated to do things. Certainly, that's not going to add to the quality of life. These things are going to actually deteriorate us from being optimal. And especially as we age, the challenge that if it's declining as we age, it makes it challenging to have a good, healthy health span, a long health span, and longevity. Now, it's important to note that not all men who have low T are going to exhibit the same symptoms. And also, some of these symptoms can be caused by other conditions. So it's not a guarantee if you're having some of these, well, for sure you have low T. The only way to find out is to have tests done by a professional. And even if we do that, we want to make sure that we don't rush into, because it's very easy to get on TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. But again, there's some cautions that we'll get into a little later. What are some of the causes that might contribute to this? Well, aside from aging, a poor diet and even a low-fat diet have been linked to lower T. Sleep apnea, that can disrupt the hormone production, leading to lower testosterone, and also alcohol abuse, that can have an impact on that. And there's other things that aren't totally in our control, like endocrine disrupting chemicals, different pollutants that are in the air, things that we use every day. For example, endocrine disrupting chemicals. There's over 800 that are used in everyday products that we use, including plastics, food containers, detergents. So it's an area that we'd want to, again, be careful of. What can we do when it comes to this area of pollutants is do our best to get outside and get fresh air, open our windows at home, try to get high quality air, try to avoid plastics. We don't want to store our food in plastic containers and then be reheating them in microwaves. We're going to get a heavy dose of what our body doesn't want and these pollutants. Try to drink clean water, filtered water. Don't use plastic water bottles. All of these things can have a detrimental effect not only on our health, but specifically here as we're talking about testosterone. We can't avoid all chemicals, but want to do our best to avoid things that we can and that we know about. And in the future, we'll have a future episode dealing with some of these areas specifically. But what we want to do is dial in what we can do. And I'm going to emphasize this multiple times just for repetition, for emphasis. We talk about the 4 pillars of health span, 4. Well, 3 of them come into play specifically when it comes to testosterone. Lifting weights and working out, 1. Proper sleep, 2. And our diet, which is the 3rd. These are 3 of the 4 pillars of health span that will have a major impact on us keeping our testosterone at a functional high level. Now, we don't want to look at lowering of testosterone as inevitable. It's not an inevitable decline, but sometimes our lifestyle and what we do can play a major role in it. And again, it's a war because, as we mentioned, the pollutants we're against, sometimes aging, so many different factors that we don't want to contribute to it by having a sedentary lifestyle, being so stressed out with life and work and other things that our sleep is disrupted, and that our diet, which we do have control over, that if we're eating very poorly, processed foods and such things, that it will definitely deteriorate our testosterone levels. Now, most of this is focused towards men, and it's an important one for men, but also women. It's important to note that testosterone levels in women are also vital. Now, they're much lower than men need and have, but even these small amounts are crucial for maintaining overall health and well-being for women. So again, if you're a woman and think you might be having these, especially surrounding menopause, premenopause, and during menopause, it can have an impact. Certainly want to be tested. Now, for women, it can have some of the similar effects, if like having low libido, fatigue, mood. These also can be a sign of low testosterone levels in women, but it's important to be checked. And even after getting checked, again, I'm not an expert in this area, but it sounds like it's difficult to have testosterone prescribed, but it can be given in different ways. And for women, some of the risks seem pretty scary to my knowledge of what I've seen. Like, for instance, if a woman was to take testosterone, it can have a deepening of the voice relatively quickly from what I've gathered, and it can become permanent. So for men and women, I want testosterone to be the last ditch effort when it comes to therapies. Personally, I like to do that with everything in life, so that's me. You might have different ideas, and that's your personal decision. But I want to see naturally all the things that I can do by myself. What can I do to help the situation before I might ask for a therapy? But just know that there are risks associated, more so for women, but men there's definitely risks too, and you'd want to do your research in these areas before you get into that. Now, some of the things that it does benefit us, and one that's both for men and women, is better bone health. And it's funny because when people think of testosterone, that's not one of the things that right away come to people's minds. And I think of that because of aging. We've talked in other episodes, and it's a serious one. As we age, the risk of falling and fracturing a hip, fracturing your femur, other bone, shoulder injuries, all these things are going to put us on the sidelines and greatly affect how optimally we can function, and even our lifespan. They could have an impact on there. So bone health is definitely a good thing that can help us and truly benefit us. Also cognitive, again, that's something that's not talked a lot. Most of the time it's talking about our energy levels, our vitality, building muscle and strength, and these are vital, as well as being able to get proper sleep. It can help us to have proper sleep. So keeping these things in mind is going to make testosterone not something scary, but it's something that we're trying to have at the best levels possible. So let me talk about a few lifestyle modifications that we can do to help us in this area. As we said, exercise regularly is one of the main things. Strength training, and you don't have to be a bodybuilder, but we definitely want to increase our strength. And as we age, we've talked before of how vital it is. Getting enough sleep. If we're sleep deprived, it can suppress our T levels. Stress, mentioned earlier, life in this world is stressful. There's no doubt about it. But doing practices that can help reduce that, things like spending time in nature, journaling, deep breathing, and other things will help us a lot. Maintaining a healthy weight. Know that obesity and just being overweight is right here in the United States and worldwide is definitely on the increase, and that's going to have an impact. So try to keep our weight at a healthy level, and also avoiding excessive alcohol consumption. How about with our diets? Well, one thing that's a great aid is to consume zinc-rich foods like beef, nuts, maybe even we're going to talk about some supplements where zinc would be one of those. But having a good protein-filled diet. We need vitamin D, so we want to get sunlight exposure. And even if we have to add vitamin D supplements, other things like lean proteins aside from the beef and nuts, eggs, fish, chicken provide essential amino acids that are valuable in helping produce testosterone. Then there's herbal supplements that you might want to consider. Ashwagandha is a popular one. Now there's a lot of effects that ashwagandha can have, so you want to do your research and you want to get a proper quality one. That's whenever we're talking about supplements, quality is sometimes the hardest thing to assure. So that one you'd want to do a lot of research. I can't tell you right now which one to take. I'm not taking it right now. In the future I will, and some of these I'll try to update you as I get into it and do more research. And something that I was taking was Tongkat Ali prior to my heart attack, and that's supposed to help with testosterone. And hopefully in the near future, I will begin to start taking that again. But we'll try to give you more research and tips on those in the future. But in the meantime, you might want to investigate those ashwagandha and Tongkat Ali. Some of the other ones like fenugreek or tribulus, they're not 100%. Some people swear by them, others say they don't do anything. So again, you'd want to do your research. And a couple individuals that you can look into. I just watched a great podcast. Dr. Rhonda Patrick had Derek from More Plates, More Dates. Very knowledgeable, and I think it was like a 2 or 3 hour podcast, and a lot of things related to testosterone in the science realm. They're both very deep into the science of it. That you can pick up some excellent tips, and specifically about the ashwagandha as well. And anything that you take, even in natural remedies or these supplements, you want to be careful that it doesn't interact if you're taking any medications. That's why you always want to speak with your doctor with these things before you do them. But along with zinc and vitamin D3, which usually has vitamin K2 with it, which is good to be together. You also want to consider magnesium. There's so many different magnesiums. The ones that are recommended are usually glycinate, magnesium glycinate, and magnesium citrate are some that are beneficial. So we've talked about several of the areas why it's important to look at our lifestyle to make sure that we're doing the necessary things that are going to put our testosterone level at its optimal to help us as we age. If we're building muscle, we want to have muscle and strength as we age. Again, you want to check with your physician, a professional, your doctor, to find out if you think it's a problem. If you feel that it's not optimal, I'd recommend looking at your lifestyle in these areas that we talked about regarding working out, your sleep, your diet, trying to avoid the pollutants as much as we can. And I'm going to give you one final tip here. I just saw this on a podcast. They recommended it at night, having a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil with a little bit of honey, a teaspoon of honey, and a little handful of pumpkin seeds or crushed almonds. And this is supposed to have an impact helping develop testosterone as you sleep. So you can look into that also. I'm going to give it a try as we move forward, but give your testosterone a fighting chance. And the topic there of extra virgin olive oil, I'm going to be talking about that in an upcoming video because that's another tool in our tool chest to help us to live a long, healthy life. So I appreciate you watching. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment. And we'll try to have more content in these areas and look forward to giving you more content to motivate and help you to have a good health span, longevity. Appreciate you watching again. And remember, we exert ourselves, we elevate our health, we evolve in mind and body, and we'll see you soon. Take care.